member. I'm going to get the meeting started, and we'll see if our councilperson Hallam can join via Teams. So I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Elections for Tuesday, October 22nd at 3 p.m. Call to order.
Thank you. Chair Ann Morado.
Present.
Member DeMarco. Here. Member Hallam, not present, supposedly going to participate by phone, but not yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comment. I believe we have 4 who have registered. First up is Ira Glick.
Good afternoon. Originally, I was going to address this group with my back facing you because many people that have come in the past kind of feel ignored, disrespected, and dismissed like they're talking to the wall. But I wasn't raised that way to not look people and engage them when I speak to them. So I just wanted to make a symbolic gesture. My main focus is to stress that I think it's important to get to same-day voting with photo IDs and stop this circus of what we have to go through with all the confusion, mail-in voting and harvesting and lost resources and monies that could be spent on better things and to better our society. I have 2 simple scenarios which could tell me if you have any protocols in place to stop potential voter fraud. One of the previous elections, I read in the newspaper, several people were interviewed. They moved from one state to another, like they lived in North Carolina, they registered for mail-in ballot. In the meantime, they moved, got a new job in Pittsburgh, and registered their residency here, and we're going to vote in person. But if they were predisposed to fool around with the monkey business with the election, they could have, voted in their mail-in ballot and, gone back to their parents in North Carolina to visit, get the mail-in ballot, send it in, and then vote again where they currently live in Pittsburgh. Now you can say, well, how many people are really going to do that? So it's not really that, big a deal, but it's kind of symbolic of what put ideas in people's heads. Like if I wanted to go vacation in Mexico, it's kind of a popular place to go. I could say register for mail-in voting here. 6 months ago, I, let's say, went to Mexico on vacation, and I decided to come back. I joined the caravan with tens of thousands of people coming north, and maybe change my name to Ira, like Ira Obama or something, come up with a fictitious name, and then vote, get a driver's license. I understand that some states, the DMV, you can register to vote at the same time. I could then vote twice with a mail-in vote as Ira Glicken, as this new fictitious person I am seeking asylum in the sanctuary city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, how many people are going to go to that trouble and do something like that? Probably very few. It's going to be rare, but in the age of social media and all the political mobilization we have around voting and elections, maybe one day we'll see that, Facebook gets involved and Google, and they say...
Thank you, Mr. Glick.
Can I say 15 seconds?
I'm sorry, your time is up.
15 seconds?
Your time is up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for whatever.
Kevin Sheehan?
Kevin's not here.
Okay, I will come back to him if someone sees him, if you just...
He's not planning on coming in.
Okay. And Matt Van Bibber, you are next.
Good afternoon. So I was wanting to attend the LNA testing this year. I did get a letter to go to it, but unfortunately, when I called down, the testing was already completed. Several weeks ago, I asked to review some of the documents from the LNA testing, video footage, and some other things. I asked it not too long after the LNA testing. I never got a response back. I emailed the county several times, still didn't get a response back. I put in a right to know. And today, I finally got a response back after I emailed the Board of Elections email that they need to wait 30 days because they don't have enough staff. They had plenty of time to get me this stuff. I would request that I could get that before the next election because I have found issues in previous elections with the machines. So if you guys could help me get those, that would be great. Also, I'm wondering what we changed in our process, because when I did contact them, they said they're miraculously done before the business hours were over for the day, when it took several days to get that done. And again, that's why I would like to see the video footage, just to make sure everything was on the up and up. And then the other thing I noticed too, a lot of Republicans are getting out the vote now and registering a lot of people, and a lot of people are voting by mail. So I brought this up several times, and I've been ignored, and nobody's ever come against what I've said. I have concerns because there have been duplicate ballots in our elections. I have brought this up many times. The board in the county has not come forward to let the public know why duplicate ballots occurred in our elections and if it was fixed. A set of duplicates were verified in court with David. David actually verified a set on stand. This is concerning because there might be other counties that also have the same issue. And, there's a lot of counties that use the same machines we do. Maybe their policies, procedures, or whatever, maybe they have duplicates as well. We're not sure. But I know in our county it absolutely did happen, and there were hundreds of them. If we still have these duplicate issues this year, it may sway an election. The Republicans are putting more in. Maybe the Republicans will win this year. But let alone, it's probably already swayed our local elections as well. Because I did find where the outcomes did get changed, where it either tied people at that local level or it flipped the vote. And I brought this up several times. And we're actually in court right now, and the Department of State and the county is denying us to be able to see the rest of the records. I put in another right to know, actually see the paper that these duplicates went with to verify that there's maybe one piece of paper or two pieces of paper, because it's going to help us determine exactly what happens, since the county hasn't done their job yet. And I already presented this to the board several times and have done nothing with it. And if the board...
Unknown participant is now joining.
If the board tries to say, or the county tries to say this didn't happen, it absolutely did happen from the records that I have got through right to knows from the county and other documents looking at the official records. So I ask that please be looked at before this next upcoming election. Thanks.
Thank you. And I believe we've been joined by Councilperson Hallam.
Yes, she is on, but it did not come up on the TV like.
Okay. And our last public speaker is Jim Means. Is Jim present?
Hello, how are you? First of all, I'd like to say I've had many circumstances where I interfaced with David Voi's staff down at the election department, and I've always found them to be helpful and courteous, and I think that he could probably use some more help during some of the crunch times. The real reason I'm here today is I learned a new programming language, R, which is good for statistical programming, and I went back and I took the voter histories, and I compiled and categorized and grouped how many people voted in each precinct. And then I correlated that with the county's detailed analysis of the votes at each places. And I found out in the 2020 presidential election, on election day, there were 11,956 overvotes. Absentees, there were 800 overvotes. And provisional ballots, there were 726 overvotes, for a total of 10,482 overvotes. In the 2022 election for senator, on election day, there were 990 overvotes. Absentee ballots, there were 448. And provisional overvotes, there were 339 for a total of 1,777 overvotes. The 2023 election for executive, on election day, there were 2,176 overvotes, mail-in 1,161, provisional 211 overvotes. That's a total of 3,548 overvotes in an election that was only won by 9,483 overvotes. Now, it's my understanding, according to state law, if there are overvotes in a precinct, the votes in that precinct cannot be counted legally until an investigation is done. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of wrongdoing. There are many, many things that can go wrong. A machine can be filled, not zeroed properly, and a lot of things can go wrong. But we can't have confidence in our elections when there's this amount of overvotes. So I'd ask the county to please do whatever they can to ensure that there are no overvotes. The last remaining thing is the county has a history of getting out the voter history fairly late, 30, 40 days after the election. So there's not any way to really correlate that with the overvotes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Means. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from September 9th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Hal, second?
So moved. Second.
Brilliant. All in favor? Aye. Great. Moving on to 2024 general elections preparations.
Good afternoon. How are you today? These stats that I normally read off, I gave in printed format as requested. This is up to noon today. Registration is probably going to jump. Mail-in ballots are obviously going to jump forward. Yesterday being the last day to register to vote, over the counter by groups doing registration drives. I believe we took in approximately 5,000 forms over the counter that's still in the process of being processed, Overnight, the state's website for registering to vote is open till 11:59. I think when we left yesterday, we were under 6,000. We came in this morning, we had 11,000. So we have at least 24 people at our warehouse working on this backlog and people in the office. I suspect it should take a few days. Currently, we have 943,000 registered voters, and that is up 1,000 from 2020. And I have the party breakdown as well. Mail-in ballot applications, we have 228,000 requested and mailed. We have 142,000 returned. We had 913 that had to be sent back to be cured. That's meaning whether the voter did not sign, did not date, or did not date correctly. And I believe, Chet may have the figures, I believe we have 600 of those that were returned?
No, so far 462 have become back properly cured, about 50%.
So, and back to the registration statistics. In the primary this year, we had 905,000 registered voters. So we're going to be approximately 50,000 voters above what we had in the primary. We have 6,900 poll workers confirmed. I believe we were full this morning. Then we had a vacancy in one judge of elections, which we have plenty of time to fill. And there were 43 polling locations that changed from the primary. This does not include the 16 that we moved due to Passover in the primary. Once our registration numbers are done and their applications are processed, we will mail a notice to every household, letting these voters know where their polling place is moved to. And traditionally, we always place signage at the old polling location if somebody would happen to go to the wrong place, directing them to the correct location. That's about all I have for. I'm willing to take any questions you may have.
Councilwoman Hallam, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you, County Executive. I just have two. My first one is something that's been brought up in the past, but I know there's folks who are watching today who were hoping to get an answer for this. If you are in another, let's say, you fill out a provisional ballot in another county and you're really a registered voter here, do your votes for statewide and presidential still count? Is it the same as it's the same thing happens within a county here?
No, provisional ballots do not cross county lines.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. And then my second question is, I've been seeing a lot of advertisement about other counties, how they're putting out their list of folks who had erroneous mail-in ballots submitted so that the public could come together to attempt to cure it. I know we've asked about this year after year. You could explain to me why Allegheny County doesn't do that and just sends the letter, whereas other counties actually put a list out there.
So traditionally, we have not posted voters' personal information on our website as that they had a deficiency with their ballot, and it was more or less for voter privacy.
And don't forget, we go beyond just... Go ahead.
Yeah, is there anything different between, could we just do what these other counties are doing and follow their same privacy measures?
Well, what we are doing that none of them are doing is mailing the ballot back to the voter. None of the other counties do that.
I very much appreciate that, but what we've seen in years past specifically is that, the time lag and that some people are getting their ballots later because they wait till the deadline to apply for their mail-in ballot. By the time it's received, there's just not time. And so instead of relying on the post office, I'm actually wondering if there's a list that we could put out with some way for folks to be able to identify themselves.
Ms. Allen, part of it is, this is Upsitnik speaking, there's been a policy decision, not only logistics, to not post names of people that have made errors when we can effectively, by mail and using the Shore system online, address those, as Mr. Harhut cited the cure figures. So there's a bit of a privacy concern, and our cure system is very effective.
Councilwoman Hallam, do you have additional questions?
No, that's all I have. I just would like to ask that, for future elections, if this is something that we talk about more in depth, because I am seeing, more other counties that I've seen in the past doing this cure list and getting a lot of praise, and it seems to be working really well. And I just thought maybe something that we could put on our list to talk about for next time.
Great. Thank you for your questions. Councilman DeMarco?
Thank you. In regard to the preparations for Election Day here on November 5th, my understanding is that we stand to have approximately 220 workers at the warehouse to help pre-canvass and canvass these ballots, correct?
That is correct. I think our count as of today was 222.
Okay. Based upon the 5 years of experience, those workers who've worked in many of these previous elections have really gotten this down pretty pat. And in some of the past previous elections, we've been done scanning or canvassing and scanning by 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you guys have any concern? We're looking at 228,000 mail-in ballots today that were sent out, okay? Do you guys have any concern about being able to get through those by, say, 11 p.m. on election night?
I don't. We've actually adjusted our staffing numbers to account for that increased level of ballot requests.
Okay. If for some reason there are more ballots, do we have a midnight shift, so to speak? Because I believe under the grant that we accept from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have to commit to counting those ballots once we've started and not stopping. until we're done.
You're correct. We do have to commit to continuous ballot counting and pre-canvassing and canvassing, once we start. We do have a second shift. Some of it's people coming in, some of it's people staying over, but we've beefed that up a little bit from prior elections as well.
Okay. I think it's also important to educate the public, as well as anybody else watching online here, that poll watcher certificates that you are able to get from parties where you can go to the polls do not authorize you or qualify you to go to the warehouse. To go to the warehouse, you need an authorized representative signature. Now, each candidate and each party is able to provide, a letter of authorization for a number of observers, but only one observer can be there at a time. So you can have assigned as a candidate 3 observers, but you have to work with those observers to make sure that you're filling in gaps in coverage. More than one can't be there at any one time. And so this is one of the things I want to make sure people understand. So on election day, we don't have people complaining that they're not permitted access. And these things, it seems at any time there is a complaint, sometimes we do have legitimate ones, but some of these things go viral, okay? And one of the things is we prided ourselves in Allegheny County, and David, you and your department, while not perfect, okay, you and Chet and Jessica, you do a very good job in trying to make sure that these elections are run well and managed well. I believe we set the bar, the standard for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I'd like to keep it that way, want to minimize, problems or issues that we have in Allegheny County. Are we prepared, as when the previous administration, Amy Downs, who was the director of communications, would send out at the beginning of the day, first thing in the morning, communications would go out to all the folks that were relevant, that were interested, the candidates, their representatives, the press, the media, giving them an update on, what polls didn't open on time, what issues that we saw, if any. And then you got regular updates throughout the day so that we were able to, once again, we're keeping the people informed, we're being as transparent as possible, and we're trying to prevent, any stories from getting legs and running. Are you guys prepared for that?
And thank you for the compliments. As far as the observers, we will be sending letters to each candidate and the parties, letting them know that they can have authorized representatives at the warehouse. And I haven't had seen a plan in front of me yet, but we will be putting out notifications as the day moves on during election day to keep everyone updated.
Okay, I would recommend, if it's possible, that we try to get the names of those observers back by, say, lunchtime or noontime on Friday before the election. That'll give you guys plenty of time to make sure that we're alerting everybody on Monday, and you guys know who to expect and what to expect Tuesday morning when the polls open. On the satellite voting locations and the ballot return sites, David, can you give us any type of insight into the extent of the problem that we've had with the envelopes inadvertently being sealed, claims of humidity, causing some of them to be sealed when they've gone out? Do you have any idea of what the extent of that has been?
I don't have numbers. I mean, I would say at the tops maybe 500 or so. Okay. We are receiving calls from voters asking us to replace their envelopes, and we try to get them back out in the mail same day.
Okay, and for the public's edification here, all the ballot return sites and the satellite voting locations, will they have extra envelopes and things on hand?
Absolutely.
So folks can go to those? Okay.
Absolutely.
And then one of the things, I got a call this morning from a gentleman who wants to make sure that if we do this in the future, I voted against the satellite voting locations. I didn't believe they were necessary, but he would like to see representation in the western suburbs, because right now they're an area that was completely missed. I think that's it all for me. Thank you, Chairman.
Great, thank you, Councilperson DeMarco. And I do have confidence that our communications director will keep everyone informed as Election Day proceeds. I just have one question before I make some final comments. So as we're 2 weeks from election, can you talk about the work that you do as you see ballots come back that need to be cured? What kind of extra outreach do you do the closer we get to election, and what options are available when there's not enough time to put it in the mail?
So we will send them back up until the Saturday before the election.
Up to the Saturday
As soon as we get them in the morning on that Saturday, that's one of the first things we do. We'll flip around anything that's deficient and get it back out on the mill. I mean, I understand that they may get it Monday or even Tuesday, but at least allows them to go and spoil it at the polls as opposed to doing a provisional ballot, which we don't need more of. And the other thing we do to inform them is, you know, every application for mail-in ballot has an email. Even the paper ones, we are entering those emails. So we do scan them into the state system, and that would come up that their ballot was deficient. I send them down to Dave at Monday, and so they would have the opportunity to go down once they receive that email and cure it with Dave in person on Monday, or Tuesday for that matter, or bring the deficient ballot to the poll. They're their two options.
Okay, great, thank you. And, you know, it was noted that the state does fund some of our election operations, but by no means everything that's involved in running a infrastructure like the one that we run here in Allegheny County. Can you let us know, in this last budget that Harrisburg sent to us, was there any increase in support for election administration?
We received 4.6 million last year. I believe this year's budget, they're allocating 4.7 million for us.
Okay. And about how much is then covered by the county?
We make up about a 5 million difference on that typically. So usually we run at about $9.5 million for an elections budget.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I think it's important for the public to remember, now that we're in budget season and we're negotiating on passing a budget that delivers on critical county services, that elections is something that we alone will administer to the people of Allegheny County, and it is at a significant cost. But, you know, we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we run safe, secure, and accessible elections. And we're very proud of the infrastructure that we built. And we're very proud of you all and how you administer elections with integrity. So just also want to take a moment to thank you all. I know the folks on your team are working 7 days a week to make sure that they get back to people, that they enter in registrations, that they're getting mail-in ballots in, that they're curing them. So just want to reiterate our gratitude for everyone who's working to make democracy happen, and just remind the public that, you know, the people who do work in elections, the people who volunteer to be poll workers, they are our neighbors, and they deserve our dignity and respect, and in turn, they will treat you all with dignity and respect. And I think that we can do a great job having a election that is hopefully positive. I was just at the CCAC location this past weekend, and there was a lot of joy, a lot of excitement around voting, which was really great to see. And that's what voting should be about celebrating with your community, about joy, and about exercising your right as an American citizen. So, you know, let's show people that we truly are Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. So thank you all for your work. And moving on to new business. Do we have any new business from the board members? Okay, hearing none. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second. And we're adjourned.